All right, here we go. Betting Weekly Live. Back with you on a Thursday. Betting Weekly Studios, part of the Bet Rivers Network. Mike Carver here with you, along with Doug Kezirian, as we get ready for a lot of action tonight. It's Thursday night football, Steelers and Bengals. We have got two MLB playoff games. That's right. Game 4 of the ALCS, Game 3 of the NLCS. We've got a lot of hockey tonight, NBA preseason. There is even a college football game as well, if you want to get that on the card too. Doug, good to see you as always, my man. How's it going?
I feel like Shawshank Redemption, Andy Dufresne just like looking up to the sky with the rain pouring, and I finally won a best bet. And with this midweek football, I was the only favorite that covered the last 2 days. So kind of finding the needle in the haystack after the dogs were barking, but we got there. Obviously, the rest of the show has been solid outside of the best bets, just picking the wrong one. But it took a quarterback injury to get there. But all in all, things are going well. We've had a strong week, Carver, but now the appetizers are done. It's the meat and potatoes of the week, starting today with all these games going on, and then into the weekend with a busy football weekend.
Yep, we got a lot to cover, Doug. Let's start rolling right into it. And of course, Thursday night football kicks off week number 7 in the NFL as the Steelers are in Cincinnati tonight to take on the Bengals. I think really, Doug, before we can even talk about the number, the total, the props, or anything else that's associated in this game, we should start with Mike Tomlin, because he did something this week, Doug, that you do not normally see Mike Tomlin do. Let's hear him at his press conference earlier this week.
To be honest, it was shocking to me. Andrew Berry must be a lot smarter than me or us, because it doesn't make sense to me to trade a quarterback that you think enough of to make your opening day starter to a division opponent that's hurting in that area. But that's just my personal feelings.
Now, Doug, we've seen a lot of Mike Tomlin press conferences over the years of him in Pittsburgh. It is very rare you see him point out an opposing team's general manager about something, and of course referencing Flacco going to Cincinnati from Cleveland.
Yeah, that's the nail on the head there, Carver. You just don't see this out of Tomlin. Not that he's boring or vanilla or anything like this, because he's great sort of coach speak, but he doesn't show his cards or be on the attack quite like this. And that really caught me by surprise. And this is a tough spot when we talk about handicapping. The quick turnaround and the Bengals, I thought, were a tough spot last week. I thought they'd get rolled, but I guess with Flacco, he can throw the deep out, he can throw the underneath stuff. I just thought with a bad offensive line and a statue of a quarterback, Flacco and the Bengals couldn't do anything against the Packers, and sure enough, they did. So now I wonder if Tomlin's a little worried, right? He definitely prefers Browning back there, and I just wonder if he's a little worried on the short week, Steelers feeling themselves a little bit. I don't think it was gamesmanship to maybe push the right buttons for his own team, right? Because sometimes coaches do that and try to get their team to wake up. But they had a rocking chair win, all things considered, last week. This week's a little tough on the road versus at home, and facing a much more competent quarterback than they did last week.
They certainly are. And as we look at the numbers at Bet Rivers for tonight, the Steelers are -5.5 in Cincinnati against the Bengals. The total's 44.5. Let me start with the side here, Doug, because I'm sure you've seen this thrown around a lot the last couple days. And when a trend starts to get thrown around a little bit, everybody starts to take notice. And that's these underdogs in the primetime games so far this year. 15-7 against the spread, 12-9-1 straight up in night games. And I believe it's 6 of the last 7 straight up as well, right? The dogs have been barking in these primetime games.
So the question is, anytime there's a trend, I always want to validate it, because you have to sort of pay homage to it. Is this noise or is this substance, right? And obviously it's factual, but does the primetime component factor in? Like if they had played, I don't know, on Sunday during the day, would that have had a different impact on the game? And I think maybe. I mean, Bengals players are probably going to be up for this game, right? Thursday night, primetime, all home crowd. I do think there's something to that. I also think it's the NFL, and we see dogs bark and win crazy games. And also, it's really hard just to have the same outcome every time. I mean, look at the Jets, as terrible as they were in London. Okay. And the quarterback couldn't do anything. He had like 50 yards passing in the game. The team as a whole, -10. They still covered and had a chance to win. And if you threw one out pass, it would have been a win with a long field goal. So I just don't want to just automatically bet this. I do think the short week actually hurts the Bengals because Flacco just got there. What was he taking a commercial flight a week ago?
Yeah.
And he had already faced the Packers earlier this year when they pulled off the win, Cleveland on the comeback in that fourth quarter. So I do think it's kind of strange that the dogs are barking, but it's only it's 6 games, right? It's not like a huge stretch. And I think some of this is the fact that it's happening in October, early October, late September. The market's still soft. Like I think if the Falcons and Bills played later in the year, the line would have been like 2.5. I just think that we're going to learn the Bills like true power range is going to come out. They're not that great.
Mhm.
I also think Jaden Daniels had a bunch of turnovers, bad handoffs. How much of that was the Bears creating that? It wasn't any of it, for the most part. So I think some of it's just kind of fluky. So I'm not factoring that into my handicap too much, but I do think you just have to look at underdogs in general and factor that in. I think it's a good spot to bet the Bengals. Like in my Pick'em league, I am taking Cincinnati, but I'm not betting the Bengals tonight.
Yeah, no, and you're right. It is kind of strange. This is the second game he's playing for Cincinnati, and he's only been in the building a week. That's like he's playing twice. He played Sunday. He's playing Thursday. He just got there last Thursday, so a very weird spot. But of course, he knows the Steelers very well. Knows Mike Tomlin, what his defense likes to do in a big way. 44.5 for the total. I usually, Doug, like to lean towards the under in these Thursday night games. We have seen a couple pop off so far this year, but doesn't feel like it tonight, right? With Flacco and with the Steelers kind of doing, I think the Steelers want to do what they did with the Browns on Sunday, right? They want to get up, they want to lean on them, they want to play some good D. I think 44.5, kind of looking towards the under for me tonight, Doug.
So I know some respected money that came on the over, and that's why we've seen movement, right? They're not betting 44.5 right now. They've bet other numbers like 42.5, 43.5. Now, no Hendrickson for Cincinnati. And to your point, I'm kind of stunned the Packers were so like basic against the Bengals last week. I mean, look, the two things that we knew, quote unquote, knew from Cincinnati the first month of the season was that their defense stinks and their offensive line stinks as well and can't protect the quarterback. So how were the Bengals able to move the ball in the second half? And how did the Packers just not light them up? I do think it's going to be a really soft. I think it's going to be a 7-on-7 scrimmage for Rodgers. He gets the ball out so quickly. He obviously is a veteran, so he can read defenses. I think he's going to have his way with this Bengals defense. So I'm not betting the under. I'm with you. I usually like first half unders, things like that. I just don't know what they're going to be able to do. I think he should be able to sling it around. So for me, I'm looking at laying the points Steelers first half. I don't think the Bengals are going to be able to put up much of a fight early in this game. I just worry about the backdoor once the Steelers defense gets soft because last week the Browns were able to move it if they had any sort of quarterback play. Remember there was that one pass where Gabriel drilled his guy underneath in the head and it bounced up. Like obviously Flacco was infinity times better than Dylan Gabriel just from a reading defenses. He has Jamar Chase. I think Steelers first half probably gets home. I think it's going to be an awful backdoor cover, one of those things because Tomlin, remember that London game? He really just took the air out of the ball, let the Vikings come all the way back and lose by 3 just by bleeding clock in the fourth quarter. Tomlin doesn't really step on the gas or step on the throat. Maybe he does because he's not facing Carson Wentz or Dylan Gabriel. But I would lean to Steelers first half minus the 2.5. I also probably my favorite bet on the game is the under for the Bengals team total 9.5. It's plus 102. If you know the NFL, you know that like the intensity of defense, like a lot of times it comes into like prevent in the second half, and a lot of second half. If first halves go under, second halves go over because they're going to give stuff. I think the Steelers defense will be on point. I think Flacco they didn't score at all in the first half last week. I think it's going to be one of those things. Now you could play this no touchdown Bengals first half under a half is plus 190. I just think they're going to have one decent drive, and that's either going to be 3 or 7. So I prefer the under 9.5 plus 102. I think the Steelers take their foot off the gas too much in the second half when they have one-sided games and really play clock too much. So I know they covered last week, but the Browns had their chances. So I think that's the best way to play it here.
Yeah, Flacco did somehow get me that over in that Cincinnati Green Bay game last week. I don't know
I
how he
know,
did it, but
right?
he was able to get it for me last week. So maybe I shouldn't be going after him here, even with his ability to maybe put a couple points up in the second half. Some props for tonight. There's one guy that I know you have circled, and I was kind of looking at it also, and that's Noah Fant, Doug, especially when you consider Gesicki out now. We know how much Flacco likes the tight end. What are you seeing with Fant this evening?
I mean, it's pretty obvious, right? The Steelers give up tons of action, targets, everything to tight ends. And then Flacco's going to have to get the ball out quickly, right? He's not going to be able to hang around there because this line will not protect him long enough. So he's going to throw a lot underneath. So it's Fant 27.5 receiving yards. There's also probably receptions makes a lot of sense because, it could be like a 3-yard gain too if the Steelers defense understands that. So Fant over 3.5 receptions is also, I'm going to play both. I just think he's going to be the guy for Cincinnati to move the ball. You cannot run. They're not going to run at all against Pittsburgh, and they're going to be trailing. They've trailed almost the entire season. So that's obviously a game script that's not going to be conducive. And if, you go get Flacco, you're going to put the ball in his hands and let it rip. So I think he's going to be a lot of dinking and dunking, which you can do against a pass rush. I'm not going to say it's going to be that super productive, but I think that'll be the game plan. So I'm targeting Fant there with receptions and yards. I think receptions is the way to go, though. Four, we can get there.
Yeah, I think that this is the night where he becomes the tight end for Cincinnati.
Mm-hmm.
Look, and I know they've had injuries and he's going to get more opportunity. I thought he was better than Gesicki and Tanner Hudson to begin with, Doug, to be quite honest with you, Noah Fant. So getting him a little bit more in the offense would be nice. Touchdown for me tonight, Doug. You said Rodgers slinging it. He's been slinging it to DK, man, and they've been hooking up. They've scored in the last couple of games. He's been finding them early and often, and plus 148 at Bet Rivers tonight. Give me DK for the TD tonight, Doug. Let's go.
Hey, I mean, you've had the magic touch. I don't want to get in your way at all. If you say it, so be it.
We're
I
going.
don't want to ever have an opinion on that.
Just one for me tonight, and that's going to be DK. He'll be the one guy that I'm going to circle there. Bet Rivers also good special for you tonight. Chasing Ghosts. What's that? Jamar Chase to record at least 50 receiving yards in the first half of Bengals versus Steelers. That gets boosted from plus 200 to plus 250 for Chase to have 50 in the first half. And look, you never know. That could be one play. I kind of like more where Doug's saying, they're going to throw a lot in the second half because they're always losing. That's where Cincinnati.
Do you have an opinion on the side or total? Do you have a lean?
I kind of like the under, especially if it's going to creep a little bit higher. I think at this point you might be. You think I can get 45 if we wait this out a little bit closer, Doug? Can we get it up?
I do.
45?
I do.
Okay. So 45 for me, and I don't want to test the 5.5. I like what you're doing in the first half with the Cincinnati team total. That could be something I go to, but I'm going to stay away from the 5.5 with the Steelers.
See ya. I'm with you.
There you go. Bengals Steelers Thursday night football, week number 7 to kick things off. To baseball now, 2 games in the MLB playoffs. We have game 3 of the NLCS. We'll start there in Los Angeles, where the Brewers and the Dodgers will get together. Of course, Dodgers up 2-0, looking to take the commanding lead. They will have Tyler Glasnow going tonight, minus 182 at home. And the Brewers are they're gonna piece it together again. Ashby's gonna be the opener. It sounds like Quintana. I mean, I don't know if I believe them anymore, Doug, to be quite honest with you. It was supposed to be Quintana one day last week, and it ended up being Priester, and they moved these guys. So I don't know who the Brewers are actually going to go to. Quintana thinks it's him, so I guess we got to go on that assumption. They're plus $1.50, total of flat 8 now, moved up a little bit from earlier today.
Yeah, I think this is kind of like a silly approach, but this is why I like the Dodgers so much in the series, right? Like Milwaukee just doesn't have the arms. And I'm not saying I knew the Dodgers would get historically amazing performances from their starters in back-to-back games, but you knew the Dodgers starters would put them in the best position possible, and the Brewers just don't have it. The Dodgers lineup is too potent, and that's with Ohtani struggling. So for me, I see this and I'm like, that ain't it. Like, that ain't the answer to slow down this Dodgers lineup, and they can just rake. Don't forget, in the previous series, they also took care of business, and they took care of business against the Reds. Like, this team is too good. So for me, with this wonky sort of approach from a pitching standpoint from Milwaukee, I think there's variance, right? If they're going to go lefties and have Quintana and all that, I'm just going to go run line for the Dodgers because I'm going to lean into that, especially because Glasnow's been unhittable. He hasn't given up a run this postseason. And I just think you get a little more bang for your buck. And I think this is a variance game. Either the Brewers respond like the Blue Jays and they take care of business and they duct tape it and do all that, and Glasnow gets touched up a little bit, fine. I just don't see this as a Dodgers 1-run win where it's like 4-3 or I just don't think. I think the Dodgers are either going to hammer these suspect pitchers or it's going to be a kind of head-scratching performance in result. So I don't want to lay the juice, but I'll take the plus 117. I'd even lay some maybe 2.5 and kind of lean into the variance, which I often like to do.
Anything maybe for the Dodger team total, if that's the aspect we're looking to? Maybe the Dodgers team total this evening we can look at?
Yeah. I just, you kind of have to pay a tax on that. So you're looking at Dodgers 4.5, like the 5 runs. Like I wouldn't be shocked if they win 3-0, right?
Yeah.
I just think with Glasnow, because team total sort of removes the pitching of the Dodgers, and I don't think we have to. And I kind of thought about a first 5 run line because I was on the first 5 money line in the last game because I'm getting all nervous with the the Dodgers bullpen got touched up and gave some runs back. So that I thought of that, like the 3-way first 5, which is minus 130. So that's tempting because you only need to lay a run there. But I just think the Dodgers can put up crooked numbers in any inning. So I would just roll with the run line, and you're getting plus money.
Yeah, and a lot of guys on the Dodgers have incredible numbers off of Quintana. If it's him who comes in second, one of those guys is Betts. I even don't mind Betts with Ashby starting the game. Over 1.5 total bases for Betts for me, Doug, at plus $1.14 at Bet Rivers. So I like Betts tonight. Not going long balls, just going to go total bases with him. Not chasing Ohtani anymore either. It's coming, but I'm not going to be there for it, Doug. I'll just go with Betts because he owns Quintana, and he's going to face the lefty in his first at bat with Ashby as well, who he's hitting this series.
Look, you had, like I said, you have the magic touch. I don't do batter props. My best bet yesterday was obviously Bieber, and he got there. I'm better at pitcher props. I just think it's so random for batter props, but I don't want to talk you off anything getting your way. If you have a knack for this, go for it.
It's my funsies, Doug. I got to have some funsies every night, and the batter props and the touchdowns are my funsies. Usually it's homers during the regular season, but I know how tough those are. They're tough all the time, but they're even tougher once you get into the playoffs and the pitching is so much better. So Dodgers looking to go up 3-0 tonight against the Brewers and that's the first game. Just about they're under an hour away. Just after 6 o'clock East, 3 o'clock West is when they will get first pitch going out there. The second game, just after 8:30 East, will be in Seattle, where the Blue Jays got off the deck last night, Doug. A big win for another softball score. Get off the deck, big night. Vlad with a ton of hits, homers all over the place for the Jays, and now they're going to look to even the series tonight. Mariners minus $1.24. That's with Luis Castillo going. The Blue Jays will start Max Scherzer, plus 104 for them. We got a total of 7.5. Can the Blue Jays do it, Doug? Get this thing 2-2 going to a game 5.
Oh, I was on Scherzer a couple starts in the regular season, and it was vintage Scherzer at a couple points. It was impressive. But the problem is Castillo, I just don't. Like, he could pitch really well. I don't want to bet against Scherzer, but I'm not afraid to necessarily. I'm torn between the over and the Mariners, minus the 120 and change. For me, it's Mariners or pass. I do think there's a chance, like the bats woke up, there's some streakiness. So I think that we could see some runs. Castillo's not necessarily unhittable or anything special. So over 7.5 feels right. Frankly, one of these teams could get that by themselves because I don't think much of Scherzer. I don't think much of the bullpen, but there is a way Scherzer can kind of dial back and dig deep. So it's over or pass for me.
Yeah, for me, the Seattle-Toronto series is going back to Toronto. Look, I think that there's a good chance Toronto can get another game here. I'm not the biggest Castillo guy, Doug. He did pitch well to finish out the season. And you mentioned the streakiness with Toronto getting the bats going last night. They do have a lot of guys who hit Castillo well. I'm going to take the team total with Toronto tonight. over 3.5. Because I think there's a chance that Seattle can rough up Scherzer. Don't really want it, but like you said, these postseason games, they could be 3-2, 4-3 before you know it, and then you're going to miss out on the over. I'm just going to go with the Toronto side and think the bats can stay hot. Over 3.5 for them this evening. Put some runs on the board against Castillo.
Like it. I think we're going to see offense now. So I guess if you're isolating Castillo, does that mean you think Scherzer can pitch well? So that's why you're not using the game total.
Yeah, I'm torn on Scherzer. I'm a little worried, Doug, that he obviously hasn't pitched in a couple weeks. You know, he didn't pitch in the Yankee series. He wasn't on the roster. It's been a little while for him out there. I don't know. He could be vintage Scherzer for probably only 4 innings, right? I don't know how much length you're getting out of him either. But he could be great and he could get smashed. I'm too unknown with Scherzer, so I'm going to stay out of it and just go to the Toronto side because I feel like they're going to score a couple off of Castillo. So, yes, Doug, I'm taking the whole game out because I'm just too unknown with Max. I don't want to get involved.
Yeah, I mean, look, there's so many numbers on the board. You can isolate an exact sort of angle that you think a game will transpire, and unfold. I think that's the best part of betting is that this vast menu. Now, you don't get the sloppy wins, right? Sometimes you think some guy is going to get rocked. You take the over, and it's the other pitcher that gets rocked, and you're like, I'll take it. So I just wanted to ask, why not just take the game over, something like that? So it can backfire sometimes. You get too cute, so to speak. But I was just curious because I think Scherzer is any baseball fan, forget betting. We're all interested to see how Scherzer steps up and if he can deliver in this spot.
Yeah, and it's too much of a guessing game for me. I think you can get 4 or 5 really good innings. He could get racked in the second. I think that it's a big toss-up for Max Scherzer this evening in that spot. All right, so there you go. Blue Jays and Mariners tonight. Don't forget, immediately following Jays Mariners, head over to the Toronto Sports Rush channel on the Bet Rivers Network for post-game coverage. Dan O'Toole, Kyle Andrew, and Bobby Valentine will be there. So that'll be tonight after the game. Late night for them. That's okay. That game starts at 8:30 East. They'll be ready to rock, Dan and Kyle and Bobby V tonight for it. So 2 baseball games tonight. I will say, I'll ask you this before I leave it, Doug, with what Michael Corleone had in the chat there. Do you think this does go back to Toronto? Will Toronto get one of these next 2 games in Seattle?
Well, I mean, look, anytime someone asks me this type of stuff, it's like, well, what is the so this would be a 2-leg parlay on Seattle, right? Yeah. So obviously the odds are in my favor of saying no. I wouldn't be shocked if Toronto lost today and won tomorrow. Like that stuff that I don't think is crazy to think. So yeah, I do think we go back to Toronto. But Seattle's damn good, man. They really are. And the offense, we saw it in the first 2 games. The team total got burned in the 8th inning with back-to-back solo shots to sneak over by a hook last night. But in general, I think the Jays showed me something yesterday. So I would say yes. Yeah,
there you go. A little fight out of Toronto. And we need one of these series, as I always like to complain about. We need one of these series to give us some distance. I hate sweeps. I hate 5-gamers. Give us some drama in the 6th game going back to the other venue. 2 baseball games tonight. All right, Pucks. NHL, 11 games on the board tonight. Man, nice job by the Blues last night, Doug. I mean, geez, getting smashed by the Blackhawks last night. Unbelievable. Nice job by Chicago. I know there was a few guys in the chat who were talking about the Blackhawks, so good job for them. Panthers are in New Jersey tonight. We've got Seattle and Ottawa. Colorado's in Columbus. The Rangers, who have not scored a goal at home all year, but they are on the road. So that's a good thing because they've been winning their games on the road. They're in Toronto. Oilers are at the Islanders at UBS out on the island. Bruins in Vegas tonight as well. Penguins, Kings, and Carolina still in California as they will see Anaheim this evening. There's 2 spots that I like tonight, Doug. I'm going to start with the one I like the most first. The Islanders are the only team in the NHL that does not have a point yet, as we are just over a week into the season. I actually think that they should probably be bigger dogs. I think the Oilers should be minus 200, to be quite honest with you.
Really?
So that's, okay. Yeah. The Islanders are starting their backup goalie, Rittich, tonight. He hasn't played yet this year. He stinks. He's no Sorokin. I'm kind of surprised it's not a little bit more. I'm going to take the Edmonton team total over 3.5. Edmonton has scored 4 or more goals every game. Islanders have given up 4 or more goals in every game this year. Edmonton, of course, second stop in the New York City road trip for them. I think McDavid hasn't scored a goal yet this year. I'm sure that's coming maybe tonight. I'm going to take that big minus 175 out of it. I'm just going to take the Oilers to score a whole bunch of goals on the island.
So that was my question: is why are you doing team total and not the win or the puck line?
The puck line is probably a nice spot for you too. Minus 1.5 at plus 145 is where that one is for you. So you can get involved there. A little puck line too. See, the line makes me nervous, Doug. I'm nervous at, what do we not know here? 175 when I feel like it should be 2 or more.
Okay, so I'll tell you why. This is like betting. This is betting 101 across all sports. I think the market is just really stubborn, right? So talking to math modelers, because math guys shape the market, and they do a lot of what's called player up modeling. So they incorporate player into their lineup, not just like how this team's doing. And so much of that is using data from last season as a baseline. So let's just say we're in mid-December. So 2 months from now, they're still going to have last year's stats factored into their baseline and starting point of a model. Now, in football, it's the case as well. So that's why the first couple of weeks, like, you can pounce on these teams that stink if you're willing to react more significantly to early performances, like the Jets being really bad out of the gates, or the Dolphins and things like that. They're still using, the model is still using baselines from last year. So I would argue that the baseline is, or I would guess that the baseline is used too much, and it's just a stubborn market. It's very slow to react to things. It's just what it is. So I've always said early in the season, if you see something from the eye test, and we're going to experience this next week with the NBA, you can pounce early. I know that was the case with the Pacers 2 years ago. They have Carlisle on this up and down offense. They end up being the highest scoring team in the NBA for 2 consecutive seasons. These are things where you see an adjustment, you can pounce. So I just don't think they've come around. If you think if you think they're that bad, right? If you think the Islanders are that bad, the market's going to be slow to make them, because in order for the market to be wrong, it typically has to be an outlier performance, like San Jose last year, or the Rockies this past season in baseball, or the White Sox the season before. Typically, the market is right and they don't overreact to results. So that's what my guess would be, is just the market's always slow early in the season to extreme performances or outliers.
Yeah, and look, you mentioned puck line. I got no problem there either, Doug. We'll go puck line tonight with the Edmonton Oilers. We can dip our toe. Like the over with the Penguins and the Kings. We hit the Penguins over when they were at the Duck Pond the other night. Kings have played actually some wild games, which is a little unaccustomed for them. But with a flat 6, Doug, I'm willing to take the over. I kind of like the puck line with Colorado too tonight. Columbus is starting the backup Elvis Merlinkus tonight. Colorado's been playing really good hockey, putting a lot of bucks on the board so far. Minus 1.5 at plus 138. But there's a lot of games, Doug, and like you said, we're still kind of feeling out for some of these teams. So even though there's a ton of games on the card, there's still a few teams that I want to see more of, like Vegas. Like I'm thinking Vegas and Boston tonight. Both the goalies have been good. It's a flat 6. If it ever crept to 6.5, Doug, I'd like to jump in on the under. But at flat 6, I'm going to.
My understanding is Aiden Hill might not play tonight. Is that
right? He's not playing.
Okay, so he's not. He's like changing his pads or something, right?
Yes, he's got all sorts of stuff that he's dealing with his pads and et cetera, et cetera. But the Bruins are starting Swayman, who's gotten out to a pretty hot start, and the Knights are going to go with Schmid tonight. And Schmid's been good in his 2 starts. He's got 1.8 through his first 2 starts this year. So I'm kind of leaning the under in the Boston-Vegas game tonight out on the Strip.
I think Bruins bounce back from that loss at home on Monday. I think it's a good spot. Just from a ebb and flow of a season, I think it could be a good spot. But the Golden Knights are tough, man. It's just hard to bet against them. They have firepower, but plus 180 is very tempting.
It is very tempting this evening. And I think we can put the same Carolina logic from the other night. I know that Anaheim's not as bad as San Jose, but Carolina will probably score some goals tonight on the Duck Pond, just like Pittsburgh did the other night. I think you can get some goals out of Carolina this evening, Doug. So I don't have a problem there, too.
Yeah, I mean, look, sometimes you just got to know, and that's sometimes something to do early in the season. If it's a little overwhelming, like 11 games in one night, sometimes you just got to chop off some games and just focus on what you know before you can figure out more and more.
Especially when you got a night like this. I mean, we're talking about NFL game, 2 MLB games. We got a college football game. 11 hockey games this early in the season. It's tough. And I think you just want to try to find, like you mentioned, there's one or two spots that kind of jump out to you. And you've seen a team play maybe a couple times here over the first week and a half. There's something that you can reach out and grab. All right, college football. Let's go there next. And we do have one game tonight that we're going to get to. But usually on Thursdays, Doug, we like to go through some of the bigger games, big game preview for week number 8. And this is a great week, Doug. There are some monstrous games. There's a huge SEC triple header. You've got the Notre Dame game, which we'll get to, a couple Big Ten games with significance. So let's kick this thing off here, starting with Ole Miss at Georgia, which is going to be between the hedges. This is the 3:30 East kick on Saturday. Of course, Ole Miss beat Georgia last year at home. Ole Miss undefeated so far this year. Georgia laying the 7.5 right now at Bet Rivers at home, 54.5 total.
Gone back and forth. I think it's a really tricky game. It's really sort of a brand name. You got to remove the brand out of your head. I don't think Georgia's been that great this year, right? They should have lost last week. They've gotten favorable whistle to the nth degree. Should have been down 17-0. And then Alabama outclassed them. I didn't think they played that great against Tennessee because I don't think the Vols are that special. I just don't think Georgia's that special. I think Kirby Smart's an excellent in-game adjuster. And with Ole Miss, I think their defense actually stinks. So I want to bet the over, but I just think I haven't gotten there yet. I think Ole Miss will respond off the lethargic performance last week. Look, they were 32.5-point home favorites and barely won over Washington State. But anybody who follows the stuff can kind of saw that come a mile away. It was a classic sandwich spot. Off a big win, Georgia on deck on the road in Athens. So I expected that. Now, can we expect the Rebels to show up? I think we do. I think Rebels first quarter, something like that, might be the best way to approach this. But you're only getting 1.5. But again, Ole Miss is solid, man. And so I don't know. It's not a big number. Don't you think these numbers used to be like 10.5 for the game and things like that? 7.5 feels short, but I don't want the favorite either.
It's Ole Miss or nothing for me, Doug. Honestly, I do believe that this game, and we know that it feels like there's going to be 4, maybe 5 teams, depending on how the rest of the country shakes out, that get in this playoff from the SEC. And I think that makes games like this have a little bit more significance. It's going to have a little bit more of a playoff feel to it than, let's say, it would 2 years ago when only 4 teams got in. So I think Lane knows he's got to not just, even if he loses the game, Doug, he can't lose by 10 plus. That's what I'm thinking. Ole Miss is going to be involved here. Like you said, they're going to start fast. Kirby's good with adjustments. Maybe it's even a backdoor. And they're down 14 and they get it to 7 at the end. But I'm leaning towards Ole Miss on Saturday between the hedges in that one. USC into South Bend, one of the great rivalries in college football. The Irish and the Trojans on Saturday night under the lights, under touchdown Jesus. 9.5 for the Irish here. 61 flat the total.
High, but I also think Notre Dame can maul this defense and just run all over them. I really do. So for me, I'm playing the over. I just think USC's offense, we saw it struggle a little bit on the road against Purdue and then also Illinois. That's an early start, the 9 a.m. body clock. This is later. I think the Trojans are playing better right now. Last week was a great spot to bet them off a bye, but they handled Michigan's rushing attack in check. Notre Dame's going to want style points too. So if they're up 10, I don't think they're going to play vanilla. They're going to step on the throat a little bit. I was originally thinking USC team total in the 26.5-point range, but I think I just got to go over for the game. It's not like USC is going to win 27-24. I think they're going to have to win a shootout. So if they win. So I like the over 61. This should be like 65.5. I really think so.
I do think it's light. I'm with you on the total. It feels like it should be a little bit more with how good USC's offense is and with how Notre Dame Carr's gotten better every week. And I think that's the thing about Notre Dame. His two toughest games were his first two games, obviously, with Miami and Texas A&M, and now with some lesser competition, he's gotten it cranked up quite a bit. And I think they're going to be able to score. I usually like fading Doug USC since they've joined the Big Ten. And I know this isn't a Big Ten game, but when they head east in the middle to latter part of the year, they're usually a pretty good fade spot the past couple of years. So I actually think Notre Dame, it's a big number. I might lay it at 9.5 with Notre Dame on Saturday night.
Interesting. So you think it's a little contrarian. It's big for a reason.
Yeah, I think that there's a chance Notre Dame could come out and get a 14-point plus win over USC. There you go. I watched OJ run out in the Broncos. He was quite the running back. OJ at USC, no doubt. All right, Tennessee at Alabama. Saturday night, we talked about this game a little bit the other day, Doug. Right now, -8 for the Crimson Tide, 58.5 at Bet Rivers. And that's what I had said to you. I like the under in this game. I think that this game's going to be tight, maybe a little bit kind of in the same realm I was talking about with Georgia and Ole Miss. There's a lot of stakes here. I think Alabama's a lot better than Tennessee. Maybe they do blow them out, but I don't think 58.5 is going to blow through that number.
Interesting, because Tennessee plays with such a high pace, right? That's what stands out to me. And Alabama plays with such a low pace. So something's got to give. I think Tennessee's pace will dictate more, and they're just sort of a big play offense that gets impatient. So I think Bama covers here. It's a tough ask. It's a gauntlet stretch, right? But they've answered the call to handle their business against Vandy, had the crazy cover late. And then last week, did enough to win in Columbia. I think at home here, I just worry that they sort of like, I don't know, the proverbial like breathe a sigh of relief, like, okay, we made it through the gauntlet. Now we just got Tennessee at home. We'll be fine. That would be the only concern. The Vols can jump on them or something like that, but I don't think much of Aguilar. I really don't. The defense is super leaky. Arkansas could have won that game. Now, I know they were up 17 and they backdoored, but before that, it was like 3 turnovers for the Razorbacks. So I think Alabama can be fine, and Simpson's been fantastic. I think Bama covers this one. I think it could be like tied at half, and then they pull away. So I like Bama to roll Tide, and Bryant-Denny Stadium at night should be great.
Yeah, and look, recent history, Doug, they've taken care of Tennessee at home. They haven't had an issue with them at home. It's been in Knoxville where they've had some issues. They've lost to them the last 2 times in Knoxville, of course. But also, you look at this gauntlet, these last couple games, Alabama, 27 points, 30 points, 24 points. They're not scoring 40-plus points in these games that they're winning. They're winning these games, and they're getting the job done. They're not giving it up anything. The defense has played well, so that's why under for me. I'm going to go and lean there. The early game of that SEC triple header I discussed, LSU at Vandy. Strange. How about Vandy being favored, Doug, in this game? -2.5, 48.5 the total. Diego Pavia and the crew at the noon East kickoff on Saturday.
I think more surprising than Vandy being favored is the fact that I want to lay it with Vandy. I'm fine laying the 2.5. This LSU team's been shaky across the board. Their offense just isn't clicking. And Nussmeier is supposed to be this like Heisman Trophy candidate and top pick. Like, it's just not delivering. And Brian Kelly's always got excuses and things to throw the scent off. But I think Vandy's solid here. I just think this is an under. We touched on it earlier in the week. The numbers come down a little bit, but I do think both offenses are not really big strike offenses. This is not Jaden Daniels and Malik Neighbors throwing deep. This is smash mouth football. And Vandy runs a lot of like zone reads and a lot of RPO where he fakes the handoff and then Pavia follows the running back through the hole, shovel passes. It's a lot of like dink and dunk. Whatever's lower than dink and dunk, that's what the offense is. And then they look for the big plays. And obviously they have a running back that can break it. But 48.5 is a big number. So, I mean, you compare this, right, with these teams involved to the total in Bama and Tennessee with the high pace that Tennessee wants to run with. And I just think they're night and day. Like, I would have made the Tennessee total a little higher, like 62. And this one I would have made it 45, 44.5. So 48.5, it's a key number. 48 is. So I like the under.
I like the under as well. I think that that's the one place that I want to live in this game. Is that under, as you just talked about. amazing here, Doug, that we're in middle October and and people are going to trust Diego Pavia more than Garrett Nussmeier, right? I mean, that is pretty wild to think about, considering how much Nussmeier got pumped up last year, going into this year. You mentioned the Heisman candidacy. I trust Pavia more. I think if I had to play a side, it's Vandy. I think they get it done against LSU, but the under's where I want to be, Doug.
I'm going to say this. If you look at Vanderbilt's schedule, they're home to LSU, home to Mizzou. Okay.
Yeah.
We don't know about Mizzou, right? They haven't left the state yet. And then they're at Texas, certainly, And then Auburn, Kentucky at home, both winnable, and then at Tennessee. I've made worse bets than Pavia 45-1 to win the Heisman.
Ooh.
If they start to get some momentum back and there's all this excitement and things like, I mean, they're ranked and there's no other quarterbacks that sort of shine. Look, Simpson's been great, but he could stumble, and some other guys, Carson Beck, whatever. I mean, Mendoza's not really doing it. I mean, he is, but he's not. All these favorites are soft favorites, right? And so Pavia could get some momentum if Vanderbilt kind of hangs around the top 20. 45-1, I think is a good bet.
Why not? And you know what else he's got? People are talking about him, Doug. Like, that's such a big part of the Heisman as well. That's a big part of all the MVP, NBA MVP, NFL MVP. If people are talking about you and you're winning games, that number is just going to start to go lower and lower.
I mean, Devontae Smith made a late surge because there was some buzz going around. I think Pavia's his like leadership and moxie and all that stuff. It'll be trendy to sort of say he deserves more, recognition or whatever. So I could see him if they can get these wins. Like he's got to notch a few wins. But even if they lost, one of those games I mentioned on the road or something like that, like at Texas, fine. But if he plays well and he's exciting and he's got those Heisman moments, I think 45-1. Like I was stunned. I thought he'd be 20-1. Let's just put it that way. So like, there's no reason that, I don't know, Joey Aguilar should be 40-1, right? Like he's not winning. Maiyava 25-1 is interesting, but Dante Moore's not going to win. Okay. Cause he just looked terrible in these big games.
Yeah.
I don't think these other, again, Haynes King at 30-1, like he's not going to win over Pavia. He's 30-1. Pavia's too high. And
you know what, Doug? If Pavia doesn't win, he could just come back and apply for a 10th year of college football next year. He just come back and play another year.
Tenure.
Pavia loves doing that. All right, one game tonight in college. We've got East Carolina and Tulsa. East Carolina at home, laying a big number here. 17 for the Pirates, 54.5 the total.
Yeah, Tulsa's not been good. No. They just haven't. Now they're going to a freshman quarterback and maybe looking ahead to next year. But I'll tell you this, Carver, and I like the first quarter here. Okay. Why do I like it? Well, Tulsa's off a bye. And so they've had 2 weeks to sort of process everything. And I think they script plays. In fact, Tulsa's been very good in the first quarter all year when they have faced teams and then end up getting like blown out by double digits. They've actually hung around in the first quarter and the first half a lot. So I actually think, they're the right side, so to speak. And that's why I'm interested in that. I think with they're going to have the quarterback prepared. And I think ECU could be, kind of going through the motions here. 4.5s. Look, you just need 3 points. I don't think ECU is going to get 2 scores. They could because these teams move so fast. But I'm telling you, man, these teams move. Like Tulsa's been really good in the first quarter. And I'll throw out some of the games where they were favored. Like I don't care how they fared in the first quarter against Abilene Christian. I don't care. Right. But all these games where they showed up from the start, even though they end up like Memphis last week, they lost 45-7, but they were only down 7-0 after 1. They covered the first quarter line, right? So they're well coached and prepared. And the way these sports books operate is they have a game line, and then they do the first half, and then they do the first quarter commensurate with all. They don't factor in they don't make them in a vacuum. They don't say, well, Tulsa's been a good first quarter team, let's lower that. They let them mark. They just do it blindly. So that's where you can find angles and opportunities. And I think we have one here with Tulsa first quarter.
Yeah, I kind of like this, Doug. I think you're going to pull me over into that because I was thinking Tulsa for the game, and really it's just one thing for me. I don't think that East Carolina is good enough to be laying 17 points against anybody, to be quite honest with you. And East Carolina has been good to me, Doug, in some spots this year and in the past, opening week against NC State being one of them. But still, this is a very big number. I don't think their offense is good enough to be laying 17 points, unless it's just a completely awful performance by the kid making his first start. If he could just get me a little bit here, Doug, I think 16 and a half for the game could be good here. But I think you've talked me over. Maybe the first quarter is the better play than the full game.
I mean, you could argue that having a freshman play, that if they're down 24, they're going to want to get something going with the reps or something, like they're not going to just mail it in and power eye and get the hell out of there. Maybe like, hey, let's get this guy a 2-minute drill. So maybe you get an extra backdoor cover potential with the dog. But I think it really sort of manifests itself in the first quarter. Again, off a bye, trying to get the guy like scripted plays. I think they're going to be prepared and ready to rock.
Make sure you get involved. Bet Rivers football squares. That's right. Players who place a qualifying same-game parlay of at least $10 on eligible NFL or NCAA football games will receive one standard entry into the weekly squares game. Winning standard squares will be awarded a prize of a $20 bonus bet. See app and website for more details. Bet Rivers football squares. Get involved. All right, Doug, we still have more tonight, believe it or not. How about NBA preseason? As we're getting close to the end before the real thing gets going. Wizards, Pistons tonight, Pelicans and Orlando, Houston and Atlanta, Minnesota, Chicago, Portland and Utah. 5 games for us tonight in the NBA. We seeing anything?
Yesterday, I had plus 8.5 with the Lakers, right? Looked good, up 13 at half. Okay, so you're catching 8.5 and you're up 13 and a half. Third quarter got away from them. They're still up 2 going into the fourth. And then they get outscored 37-8. Not a good look for the Lakers in that fourth quarter. So I will, it's not, dogs aren't unbeatable, I guess. They do get blown out. And that's what I'm hoping for here with the Orlando Magic. I know sharp money came on Orlando to move this line higher. And all signs point to the Magic taking this more seriously. Pelicans are thin now. They lost Kevon Looney. He's going to miss the start of the regular season as well. I think this is all about teams that are going to play backups and whatnot. My understanding is the Magic are going to have a full sort of slate. And every year, there's a team that takes the regular season a little too seriously, right? Go back to the Rockets when they had Harden and Chris Paul. They took things too seriously, tried to get the 1 seed all the time. Then it was like the Grizzlies, right? They were talking the smack with the Warriors, trying to get the 2. They had the 2 seed one year, couldn't get out of the second round. I think the Magic are going to be the team that takes the regular season way too seriously. They're not going to be load management as much as you think. They're not going to try to play the marathon. But I think this team is covered every game in the preseason for a reason. I think they're like, I'm not saying FU mode, but they're definitely flipped the switch. So I think they're a good bet on team until further notice. And I'm going to try to capitalize a little late to the party because they've covered every game in the preseason, but they're doing it in dominant fashion. And we know they added the pieces, right? They got Bane and all that. Like, I think they're going to be a really good bet on spot. They're well coached with Mosley. I'll lay the 7.5.
Yeah, Lakers have gotten you twice this week. You had the game against Phoenix as well, where they were brawny that first game. And then, of course, last night. It's tough sometimes with these preseason games. All right, before we get out of here, best bets for this evening. Doug, you got to take us out. You like you said, you had the Shawshank Redemption moment last night with the best bet. Go ahead. What do you got for us this evening?
A little all over the place. I'll say, I know we like to talk with like 3-star play. I'll say I've been using letter grade. These are all like B, like kind of BB plus games, in terms of my opinion. Nothing that's like a banger. I'll go Bengals first half team total under 9.5. It's plus money 102 or whatever it is. I just think it's going to be really tough for Flacco to get the offense going against a hyped up defense. If he's that special and the veteran savvy and all that, and they get a touchdown, I don't think they're going to find the end zone. And this offensive line shouldn't be able to protect him. I think I don't see the Bengals matriculating up the field. However, I will say Thursday night games, Tomlin is 2-9 straight up over the years. And that does concern. Now, we don't know if they're favorites or not. Last year, they were a favorite to the Browns on the road and lost outright. Something to keep in mind. So maybe the Bengals have some voodoo there, but for the most part, I think the Steelers should handle their business. I'm torn on survivor picks. I just can't pull the trigger on the Steelers. I know our chat the other day said, number one rule, you don't do short weeks and I was like, whatever. I mean, you got to take the best chance to win.
We
So
both got burned on the Rams that night. Both of us had
yeah,
the
I did
Rams,
get burned at one of my entries, so I'm down to one in a big pool I'm in. But I have no good option. I mean, I have all like sort of asterisks. I have the Titans. I mean, the Patriots, third straight road game, new
Yeah.
coach bump for Tennessee. What do you do? There's always some concern with the NFL, but the Steelers should handle this game. They really should. Like Rodgers should throw this thing all over the place.
He should. I am going to go for the Thursday night ugliness with mine. Under 44 and a half now. Under 44 and a half, Pittsburgh and Cincinnati. Ugly Thursday night game. And I do think, Doug, like you said, it's going to be a situation where that 5.5 could be in play late, whether it's backdoor potential, could be 20-14, 20-17, right in that area. I'm just going to stick with the under. And the one I like the most is that Edmonton team total against the Islanders. If you want to do the puck line, by all means, go ahead. The thing that worries me about the puck line, as I thought a little bit more about it, Doug, was that, the Islanders got to play with a little. I mean, they don't have a point yet this year. Like they're the only team in the NHL without a point. They got to give a little something. But I'm just going to keep it with the Edmonton goals. Over 3.5 team total for Edmonton against Rittich out at UBS. So those are going to be my two this evening, Doug. I'm going to give it a shot.
I like it. Hey, I've been tailing you with your hockey and your touchdown scores and everything else. You've been on fire. So
DK.
I'm in.
DK tonight, Doug. Let's go. Only one. DK first, hopefully to get in the end zone. Rodgers slinging it all over the place. All right, Doug. Tomorrow we will be back. A big Friday edition of Betting Weekly Live, 5 o'clock East, 2 o'clock West. We'll do all the NFL for the weekend, all the college, but 4 games tomorrow night. Not bad ones either, Doug. Miami and Louisville. Good game down at Hard Rock. Nebraska's at Minnesota tomorrow night. You want to take Bill Belichick with the 9.5 at Cal late night for tomorrow night?
I actually think that could be the right side. We'll talk about it more, but look, you got Belichick 8 alive rookie quarterbacks in his day, right? You got a freshman who's obviously dynamic, but he's made a lot of mistakes against Duke. He couldn't do anything after they were up 21-3 or whatever. Yep. I think Belichick off a bye should have quite the recipe for this Cal offense. So I'm wondering if the under's the play. But I like Johnson, the quarterback, who I think it's going to be for the Heels. Yep. I actually think if I can get 10, I think that's going to be the side I have to play.
All right. And 2 baseball again as well. They'll flip tomorrow. Blue Jays Mariners will be the early game. Brewers Dodgers will be the late game. So another very busy Betting Weekly Live for us tomorrow. Mike Carver, Doug Kezirian. Enjoy all the action tonight. We'll be back with you tomorrow. Betting Weekly Studios, Bet Rivers Network. We'll see you then.